And welcome into Coleman today. Our very special guest today, Josh Phillips, is with us, and I have known Josh all of his life pretty much since he was a little critter. I'll call him a little critter over at East Elementary years ago, and it's just my pleasure this morning for him to be on our Coleman Today show, because we're going to talk about you and your family a little bit and what you've been doing. So welcome.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back. We've my wife and I moved back about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So
fairly new.
It was her decision. She pulled me back. She fell in love with Coleman, and she's from Arizona, where we were. And she talked to me about 2 years about coming back to Alabama. She wanted our boys. We got two boys now, Noah and Isaac, 5 and 3 years old. And,
oh wow!
Yeah,
love their names.
At Coleman Primary, and that was it. She wanted them to have the raising and the life that I had, or at least something similar.
Oh, and wonderful.
Yeah, for about the first year, I was like, honey, I mean, she's from Phoenix. 6 million people.
Never lived anywhere else.
Yeah, 6 million people, and she wants to come to Coleman. And I'm like, that's a big difference
in
what you're doing. So,
and she'd only been visiting several times, right?
And just loved my family. Her family's like 5 people, and ours is 65. It's a little bit different.
A little different.
But she came back for a couple months, and I said, just spend some time there and really let me know if it's something that you're serious about. And she did, and we had a wedding at the end of the summer, and I came back and I was in the wedding, and she's like, I'm ready. So I was like, okay, like we've got to move everything that we've built in the last 4.5, 5 years to Alabama, which turned out, I was stressed out about it, and it turned out to be
a blessing.
God's will, the whole time, everything, all the pieces, and it's a longer story than what I'll share with you today, but it's really cool how if you just trust in that, everything was just falling in place. Even when I was trying to force things that weren't supposed to be, the right play was there, and just when I just fell on my face with that, the door was open for the next one.
Is that not just neat?
Yeah, it was awesome.
You've always had such good, strong faith, and even as a young child, as a young boy, you always had that, and so it's wonderful to see that it's still there, and that you see how he does open the doors, and wow, and of course, shuts them. That's right. It's close and solid. But I know your parents were thrilled. Your family, your sister was thrilled. But
she's definitely my mom. She's definitely my mom's favorite now because of this. She brought all back.
I bet. But how's her family transitioning without you guys being out there?
It was hard. It was hard at first. Very, very hard, especially on her mom. She was raised in a single parent home. My wife was. And so her and mom are really, really, really tight.
Close.
Really, really tight. And really an emotional thing for her, because they've always been together.
Right.
Through thick and thin. I mean, even before her stepdad, who's her dad, her only dad.
Right.
Married, I guess, probably 10 years ago and came into life. It was always just them.
Just them.
And so
maybe she'll relocate.
I think more now, Michelle, my mother-in-law, she's doing competitions, fitness competitions, and she's got her own cooking program, and she's got all these things going now that really help. And obviously they talk every day or every other day, and they fly out 2 or 3 times a year. So
to see, and that way keep up with those babies.
And we go back.
Too.
Yeah, we go back too. So
see, well, and when you were in Arizona, of course, you went out there and started working. How many years did you actually do the mortgages in Arizona?
I was with the company that I was with in Arizona for 5 years.
Okay.
Maybe 5.5 years.
So you learned the ropes and learned how to.
Oh yeah, and gosh, to think of when I started with the company. I started in a very competitive. There's 1,000 applicants for the job, and they have a class of 20, and I had no idea what an honor that was at the time. Again, just got to open the doors, because I was walking into a class where everybody had mortgage experience. They had already been in the game. They were experienced, and I'm going. They're talking about escrow accounts, and I'm like, I don't know what's an escrow account. I don't even know. I don't even know. I'm so far behind.
I love it.
I committed the first probably 6 months, and I told Erica, who was at home with a newborn, and I said, for the first 6 months, you'll see me on Sunday.
Yeah.
I've got to beat the learning curve.
Right.
I'm a competitive guy to begin with.
You've always been. Yes.
But I said, I'm so far behind, and I was worried about not being successful in it.
Right.
And so for the first 6 months, I stuck to it, and Monday through Saturday, I was there for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, however, whatever it took.
Whatever it took to
Whatever
learn
it took. And I was the first person to graduate out of the class, and the first person to be on the what they would call a experienced team and move into every promotion from then on. So it was,
Wow.
yeah, it was really cool. And what really
Wow.
happened, and what was really cool, is I fell in love with what I get to do.
Yeah.
You do some real estate. Like, it's just such
do.
an amazing, fulfilling. I tell my clients, like, I love what I get to do.
Yeah.
And I love that I get to go, like, when I lay my head down, it's in peace. And it's
Exactly. Because you love people, and people love you with your personality, and you want to do well for them. You want to do what's
absolutely.
right by them.
That's
and
the
do
best
a good
part
job.
about it.
It is, isn't it?
It's absolutely the best part about it. Here, I've had more than I can count of just first-time home buyers here, especially what we do at Nations Lending, where I am, NLC Loans. It's all about the, most mortgage companies can do a handful of things. We're
Right.
all going to be the same.
Sure.
So you're looking for, and the reason I left the previous company was that I was looking for something that's going to help my community. And when I came back about a year ago, it was, hey, I'm here. I would go to the real estate, hey, I'm here, but I had the same mortgages that everybody else had.
Sure.
So, I didn't really mean that much. So I found, I'd been recruited by a company for 6 months and said, you know what, you guys have some stuff that's really going to help our community.
Right.
And it's the, and if I can talk about that, but it's the 580 FICO scores on all 3 of the government programs.
Yes.
And I kept running into that. I'd get calls here locally. I get calls about it, and the credit just wasn't there, or there was some other kind of overlay that we couldn't get around.
Sure.
So that's kind of wiped away with this. And
Oh, wow.
there's very, very little cases where if I can't get you financed now, there's never going to be a situation where I'm going to say, yeah, there's nothing you can do. So
In other words,
if there's
you
not a
work with
plan,
them.
if there's not a plan for it, then you're probably going to be approved. But if nothing else, you're going to walk away after a conversation with me,
Right.
knowing, okay, this is what I've got to do to get where I need to be.
Where you
And
need
that's
to be.
half of my calls, and people don't realize that. They're going to call the mortgage company or the lender when they're ready.
Sure.
And the problem is you may be ready emotionally and think you're ready to move forward, but you've got to get the finance part of it first.
First, absolutely.
And you know that as a realtor, you can, if you find your perfect home, you can't buy it without a mortgage.
That's right.
Unless you got cash.
Yes.
So if you start with that, you've got a good plan, you're comfortable with what the process is going to be, then you find your house and it's just smooth sailing from there. Because you already have an expectation.
You already
of what
know.
to do.
Now, Nations Lending and LLC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're part of that company, and a lot of people will ask, and that are watching the show today, do you have a storefront? But this is, you can go online and
Sure.
get a local number, is that right?
Yeah,
Will they get you?
They have,
Okay.
Most of the realtor offices will have something with NLC or a business card with my name on it with my local number. It's 256 number. My storefront, my office that I remote into, I work from home. So
Okay,
everywhere I
great.
remote into is in Nashville.
Okay.
So I don't expect you to come drive to Nashville
That's
and come
right.
visit me. Just call me. And most of what I can do is the first probably 5-10 minutes of a phone call.
Right.
Covers everything we need, and then from there we can fax, we can scan. I can meet you here with documents
Sure.
and things like that, because that's the headache part that
Sure.
no one enjoys, is having
Sure.
to document their life. But I'll help in any way I can on that kind of stuff. So.
See, so don't feel like just because it's a phone call that Josh, he's right here. He's local and has been local and born and raised here, and so it's an important thing to know who you're talking with on the other end. And let's talk about those scores. Typically, people like to do it, if it's conventional, it's usually 620, is that right?
With most companies, it's going to be 620 and up, which it
And
is
up.
with us. Mhm.
And everybody doesn't have that for whatever reason. It doesn't necessarily mean that.
Some companies will tell you you have to be above 660, and the problem is, you'll make that one call of the bank that you like. This is who my parents use, so I'm going to call this bank, and
Sure.
then they tell you you're at, say you're at 615, and they tell you, well, in order to get a mortgage, you have to be at 660.
Right.
Well, you're crushed.
Yes.
You're wondering, like, what in the world have I got to do? Yeah. You haven't done anything wrong. You just got to
And
call somebody
sometimes
else.
it's because you don't have enough credit. Is that correct?
That can be the case too.
Okay. It's not necessarily that it's negative. All right. So
You could just not have a score.
Not
It's
have a
neither
score.
positive nor negative.
Okay.
It's just not there.
It's just not there.
Right.
That's true. Okay. So with you though, if there are programs out there that you can get someone in a home, depending on their income. That's basically the bottom line, isn't it? The income.
In today's world, and we won't go into it, but with all the regulations and things like that, RESPA, and everything really boils down to repayment ability. Can you afford the payment? Because that's what happened before. You know, in 2006 and to 2009,
Right.
they were giving mortgages away that people couldn't afford.
Pay, could they?
Yeah, exactly. So to do away with all that, Nations NLC doesn't care as much about the credit because can you afford it? At the end of the day, can we prove that you make enough money to afford the payment? If you can, we'll find a way.
Find a way to do it. So if you have a 580 and you typically don't go below 580, is that
Right.
correct?
That's
you
correct.
don't go below. But if you've got a 580 and say you've got something out there that needs to be taken care of, you typically say take care of that, come back, and we'll start over?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, you can have things on your credit with us,
Okay.
and we'll find a way to either get around
Okay.
something like that,
Right.
or maybe you have to take care of it. The only thing you really have to take care of are government things,
Okay. Okay.
judgments.
Judgments. Okay.
Maybe you have a student loan in default.
Okay.
The government won't give you money if you've already defaulted on their money. So
Well, that's true.
Yeah, so they
Common
actually
sense
talk
sort
to
of
each
thing.
other in that case, you know.
I
So
bet.
that's really it. If it's student loan or any kind of government default debt,
Right.
can't do anything until it's taken care of. If it's a judgment where somebody's actually taking you to court and filed a claim against you,
Right.
and that has to be paid prior to close. So you can
Okay.
actually still be approved with a judgment.
Okay.
But it's got to be paid before we can close the loan.
Before you close the loan. If someone's watching and they're going to go to your website or call your phone number, what's going to be the first thing that you do with them? Will you do an over the phone application, or will they do it online?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I do is try to just let people understand, like, hey, it's just me.
Right.
It's just me and you sitting here talking.
Right.
Because most people are
Confidential.
nervous.
Sure they are.
When
It's a big step.
And I can speak from experience. So when I was 23, I had ambitions to be, a landlord. I was at UNA. And I worked at a mattress company hauling mattresses and delivering mattresses in people's houses. No idea of the world, And
Right.
I went in and I found a house that I loved, first mistake, and didn't have financing in order. So I went and got I went to the Wells Fargo and I said, hey, I want to buy this house. I can rent it for this. And I laid out a plan of a very well thought out plan of what I wanted to do.
Sure.
And they're like, you can't afford. It was like a $500 payment. I was like, oh, but I'm going to have rent.
Yeah, you had that rent
I had
to
it
take
all,
care of it.
all the logic in the world, but it wasn't
Sure.
how things work. And I was basically laughed out, not knowing that my career
Would take
and what
this
I would
turn.
fall in love with would be helping people get finance. So there's a little bit of an emotional tie to that first conversation.
Sure.
There's a little bit of emotional tie to not just saying no, have a nice day, and then be escorted out.
Exactly.
I want to get you there because it was a
wanna
dream
help.
of mine, and it's just a short little education, but it's a little rabbit trail there. But the main thing I do first off is say, it's just me and you talking. It's pretty simple. Here's what we're going to talk about.
Right.
Let them know it's nothing that I'm not going to draw blood.
Right.
There's no needles involved, nothing
Sure.
like that. And 5-10 minutes initially, and then as we go along, it's just more conversation.
Easy to get approved.
Yeah,
Then pretty.
it's just more conversation.
Pre-approved. Let's talk about interest rates right now. How are they? Do you see them in?
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Right now, they've ever since February of a couple of years ago, they've taken that slow trickle, and there've been drops and slow trickle up.
Right.
And when that trickle up is in anticipation of what people are projecting to happen in the next 6 months.
I know.
And
I'm
this
afraid
isn't
they're
like
gonna go up, aren't
this
they?
isn't like a car salesman telling you, like, hey, hurry, do it now. Honestly, if you haven't refinanced or if you're on the verge of buying a home,
You need to do it, don't
you need to do it. I mean, if it's something you're able to do and comfortable, and obviously it's something that your spirit's good with, because it's something they've been talking about a long time, but now you've seen the unemployment rates continually show improvement.
Right.
And the Fed's not going to keep buying $1 trillion of bonds every week.
That's true.
We can't afford it, and eventually somebody with enough push in Congress is going to say, you guys have got to stop
it, and they'll go up
with this debt, and then the rates are going to go up.
Don't we hope and pray that they do not go up like they did 15 years ago? They were 10 and 12%. We just pray that they're not anything like that.
I don't think you've got anything to worry about.
Oh,
I'd say the first initial jump you're going to see is going to be probably at 1 point to 2 points, which if you look at like a $200,000 loan, if that's the range you're looking at, that's about $150 a month difference. So it's important.
So it's doable, but
it's important. It's going to be something that, when you add that kind of stuff up over the life of the loan, that's huge. But is it doable? Yes. So life will continue. People continue to buy homes. It will become the new normal.
That's true. That's true. So if you're now, do you guys do refis also, or are they just new mortgages?
I primarily focus on purchase, but I've done.
But you can do those too.
Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of refinances as well.
Okay. So we've got the number for you, and also the website address. Give him a call, and if you're interested in refining, or if you have that home out there that you really, really want to try to do something before the first of the year, it might be after the first of the year before you get closed. Typically, how long does it take to close a loan?
Depends on the loan type.
Okay.
It depends on the issues with the credit. Again, the niche that I try to deal in is the tougher stuff.
Okay.
So, but even then, my average is still 30 to 40 days. So
not bad.
Just get, all you have to worry about is getting your documentation together. And if you can gather as much documentation as I can ask you for, I can get you closed.
Wonderful. So, do you have a number that you want to give, or we want to just see if we can get it on the screen?
I believe
on
the screen would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Sounds good. So good to see you today. Josh Phillips with us this morning, talking about mortgages, and like he said, he's back home, welcomes your business. Give him a call, and he'd love to hear from you. And of course, we'll be back with more of Coleman Today right after this.